There is a vault deep beneath the city of London, where the air is cool and still, and the silence is absolute. Inside this vault, behind steel doors that weigh more than a car, there are diamonds, not dozens, not hundreds, millions of them. Rough stones and polished gems, heaped in trays and locked in drawers, enough to fill every jewelry store window on every main street in America 10 times over. And yet, somehow, we have been taught to believe that diamonds are rare, that they are precious, that they are worth 2 months of your salary. This is the story of the brightest lie ever sold. Let's begin where the earth begins, deep underground, where carbon atoms are squeezed under unimaginable pressure and heat. A diamond is, at its core, just carbon. The same element in your pencil lead, the same element in the charcoal on your grill. There is nothing magical about the recipe. And nature, it turns out, has been remarkably generous with it. Diamonds are found on every continent. They form in volcanic pipes called kimberlites, and these pipes are scattered across the planet like seeds thrown from a reckless hand. Diamonds are not rare. They never were. But in 1866, something happened that would change everything. A 15-year-old boy named Erasmus Jacobs found a glittering pebble on the banks of the Orange River in South Africa. That pebble turned out to be a 21-carat diamond, and within months, prospectors swarmed the region like ants to sugar. The South African diamond rush had begun. Mines opened, fortunes were made overnight, and diamonds poured out of the earth in quantities no one had imagined possible. This is where our story turns dark. A young Englishman named Cecil Rhodes arrived in South Africa with almost nothing. He was sickly, ambitious, and utterly ruthless. He watched the chaos of the diamond fields and saw not gems but opportunity. One by one, he bought up smaller mining operations. He consolidated. He merged. And by 1888, he had created a single company that controlled virtually the entire world's diamond supply. He called it De Beers, after the farm where diamonds were first discovered. And with that monopoly, he held in his hands the power to decide how many diamonds reached the market and what people would pay for them. Think about that for a moment. If you controlled the entire supply of something, you could make it appear as scarce or as abundant as you wished. You could release just enough to keep prices high. You could lock away mountains of inventory and tell the world there was a shortage. That is exactly what De Beers did for over a century. But controlling supply was only half the equation. The truly brilliant and truly sinister part of the plan was controlling desire. In the 1930s, diamond sales were slumping. The Great Depression had crushed consumer spending. Young couples saw no reason to spend money on a shiny stone when they could barely afford rent. De Beers needed a miracle, so they hired one. A New York advertising agency called N.W. Ayer was brought on to do something unprecedented, to reshape human emotion itself. In 1947, a young copywriter named Frances Garrity sat at her desk late one night, exhausted, and scribbled 4 words on a scrap of paper before going to bed. Those 4 words were, "A diamond is forever." She didn't think much of the line, neither did her colleagues the next morning. But De Beers ran with it, and it became what many consider the most successful advertising slogan of the 20th century. A diamond is forever. It didn't just sell a product. It fused diamonds to the concept of eternal love. It made the diamond engagement ring feel not like a purchase, but like a sacred tradition. Except it wasn't a tradition at all. Before De Beers, engagement rings were often simple bands, sometimes set with rubies or sapphires. The diamond engagement ring was invented, manufactured whole cloth, by a marketing campaign. De Beers told men that 2 months' salary was the proper amount to spend. They placed diamonds in Hollywood films. They lent necklaces to actresses on the red carpet. They created editorial content disguised as fashion advice. And slowly, invisibly, An entire civilization came to believe that you could not truly be engaged without a diamond. Now here is the part that should make your stomach turn. Try to sell a diamond back. Walk into any jeweler with a ring you bought last year and ask what they'll give you. You will be offered, if you are lucky, a fraction of what you paid. 20, maybe 30 cents on the dollar. Diamonds have almost no resale value, and the reason is simple. There is no real scarcity to support the price. The moment a diamond leaves the store, the illusion breaks. The jeweler knows what the stone is actually worth on the open market, and it is a fraction of the retail price. You are not buying a precious gem. You are buying a feeling packaged in velvet. De Beers also waged a quiet war against the second-hand market. They understood that if people started reselling diamonds freely, the flood of supply would crash prices overnight. So, they cultivated the idea that a diamond should never be resold. It's a family heirloom. It's forever. Pass it down. Never let it back into circulation. This was not sentimentality. It was supply chain management disguised as romance. And what about the human cost? For decades, the diamond industry fueled brutal civil wars across Africa. In Sierra Leone, Angola, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, armed groups seized diamond mines and used the profits to buy weapons. They conscripted children as soldiers. Entire villages were destroyed. These became known as blood diamonds, and while the industry eventually created the Kimberley process to certify conflict-free stones, critics say it remains full of loopholes, a band-aid on a wound that never fully healed. Today, the De Beers monopoly has loosened. New mines in Russia, Canada, and Australia have broken their stranglehold, and perhaps the greatest threat to the diamond myth is growing quietly in laboratories around the world. Lab-grown diamonds are chemically, physically, and optically identical to mined diamonds. Even expert gemologists cannot tell them apart without specialized equipment, and they cost a fraction of the price. The diamond industry has fought back fiercely, spending millions to convince you that a lab diamond is somehow less real, less romantic. But the science doesn't lie. A diamond is a diamond, whether it was squeezed from the earth over 1 billion years or grown in a chamber over a few weeks. So where does that leave us? Standing in front of a jewelry case, staring at a stone that is not rare, whose value is artificially maintained, whose traditions were invented by an advertising agency, and whose history is stained with exploitation and war. And yet, we keep buying them. Because the lie is beautiful. Because the light that refracts through a well-cut diamond really does take your breath away. Because when someone you love slides that ring onto your finger, you are not thinking about Cecil Rhodes or supply chains or marketing campaigns. You are thinking about forever. And maybe that's the most human part of this story. We know the trick. We can see the strings. But we choose the illusion anyway, because some lies shimmer so brightly that we would rather live inside them than face the dull truth. A diamond is just carbon. But then again, a sunset is just scattered light, and a love song is just vibrating air. Maybe worth was never in the object at all. Maybe it was always in us, in what we decide to believe and what we choose to hold precious.